Good time of day to all of you, my friends here on the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Alex Yermolinsky. Welcome. Whatever Russian Schoolboy knows, live show. Yeah, today I would like to do a recap on the recently concluded Women's World Championship match. And the hero, of course, is our new world champion, representing China, Tan Zhangyi. Well, her name was not mentioned among the pre-tournament favorites. And the whole story of her success in Tehran is a Cinderella story. How many times she was facing elimination, I lost count. All in all, she played the near maximum games possible. She was involved in 2 Armageddons out of 3 in this tournament. And altogether, I believe she played 34 games in less than a month time. It's probably 3 weeks. That's all it took her. Maybe even a little less. Incredible workload. And Tan handled this like a true champion. I know. Well, there's a lot of talk about her losing 9 games, but no, well, she lost 9, but she won many more. Well, another thing is, every time we have a knockout championship, like we used to have those starting in 1997 and going all the way through, I believe, about 2005. Then, men's championships, right? And no, every time we would have a winner like Khalifman, Kasimdzhanov, or Ponomarev, same thing, people would say, oh, this is not the real champion. This is not the real championship. This is like random crapshoot, all other words. Somehow this I didn't hear when the same tournament was won by Anand. Well, Anand actually won it twice. I believe he was a world champion in 1997 in the inaugural knockout. And just the way it was set up by FIDE, that he was made to play Karpov, in the what they call the final match, which Karpov was seeded into, and Vish obviously was tired, and he ended up losing that match. Although I believe already in 1997, Anand was a better player than Karpov. But anyway, Vish just shrugged it off and then came back 3 years later and won the same event, which was held in New Delhi. But the final match, when the Anand played Shirov, was also held in Tehran. Another controversy surrounding this year's tournament, Women's World Championship, was obviously the dress code, put it mildly. Now, you can see a picture of Tan while wearing the, whatever, it's a traditional Islamic headdress. Well, hijab, whatever, the word is. Actually, I look at her and it kind of fits her well, and most, it was a little unusual maybe, but most ladies at that tournament, they managed to comply with the dress code, and yet, they looked quite beautiful. Well, beautiful maybe in the way of a woman, waiting on a windswept, train platform at train station in Moscow in February. Well, I'm kind of used to this. Well, I don't know, maybe it's not shared by all of you guys, but no, I grew up over there, and half the time, 6-7 months a year, well, it's just really unwise, to go out there, like without wearing some kind of headgear, whatever it is. Be it the ushanka, or, some kind of a cap, that I'm so used to wearing this. And of course, women would often wear scarves, over their heads. So I personally no, don't mind the look, but I do understand the position taken by some players in that respect, and well, I sort of support their decision not to participate. Well, it's everyone's choice, if you want to go to a particular place or not, that's a choice. I mean, I could probably, off top of my head, mention a few countries in the world, that I wouldn't want to go for different reasons. Well, so fine, you make your decision, and well, what I didn't like, particularly coming from some players who would be quite low on the totem pole, is raising stink about, I'm missing the opportunity, my dream of becoming a world champion is shattered and all that, I don't really buy into the stock. I mean, all the same with Tanzania, I'll talk more about her. Yeah, hi Jacob. That's what's cracking here. Yeah, we're talking about Women's World Championship and a new world champion. Yeah, so I'm thinking, this talk is sort of disrespectful toward the game of chess and toward the other competitors. And it's a large field, 120 players. Almost makes it sound like, okay, if I could go there, if it wasn't for Iran, the hijab, then I would be there, like kicking butt. No, well, I don't know. Okay, among the people absent from this tournament, of course we should start our list with many times world champion Hu Yufan. We talked about her, particularly when she was in the middle of that controversy in Gibraltar, where she, after making her announcement that she won't be competing in women's, not in just this year's championship, in women's championships at all, in any kind of tournaments like that, restricted for women, then either by some cruel twist of fate or possibly by some kind of interference, human interference, she was paired against women 7 times, in that tournament in Gibraltar. And all right, the form of her protest, you all remember, she wanted to lose the game in 2 moves. By fool's mate, she didn't quite manage to do this, and ended up resigning on move 5. Oh, okay. Now, I don't have any doubt, that Hu Yufan remains the best female player in the world, and probably will remain one until some new young talent appears. And, eventually it will happen. But right now, among the currently active women players, for sure, Hu remains the best player. Well, she didn't really distinguish herself at the first stage of men's Grand Prix tournament, which took place just about the same time as the Women's World Championship in Tehran. In Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, she played tight, controlled chess throughout the whole tournament, made 8 draws, and then finally lost in the last round to Shakhriyar Mamediyarov. So her final score is not so bad, 4 out of 9. Well, although since that tournament the Grand Prix was played by a Swiss system, who basically just stayed there in the middle of the pack, didn't really face the strongest opposition in that event. I guess she only played Mamediyarov in the end because how it was that Mamediyarov, who was among the leaders throughout the whole tournament, simply ran out of other opponents. So this is how it was. Nonetheless, Hu Yufan, it's a loss for women's chess. For sure it's a loss for the Chinese Chess Association. They can no longer claim that, claim her wins, Hu Yufan's wins in women's events as the proof of the excellent job they're doing, managing Chinese chess and all that. Yeah, but no, well, Tan picked up the slack, very nicely, and so I guess now that the Chinese chess authorities don't have any reasons to complain. Maybe they can milk it even more, saying like, okay, so we lost Hu Yufan, but look at our new talent and all that. Now, Tan, I don't know exactly her age, she seems to be in her early 20s. And she had been around for some time and was always known as a talented player but a bit on the wild side. Now, what helped her to play better, and I'm not only referring to this championship, she elevated her game significantly in the year 2016. Well, when I played in Hainan, China, that international tournament, she was there, and she was, after the early departure of Anna Oshenina, who didn't have a good start at the tournament, and allegedly she didn't feel well and she dropped out. So then Tan became the female star of the tournament. She played the entire tournament on top boards. She was the only one ever with winning chances against the eventual winner, Yu Yangyi, and she had a great result. I'm sure she scored men's GM Norum with that. Who you find challenging Tan? No, well, first of all, Tan is a champion, but the first challenge for her is to meet yet another Chinese player who's the winner of the Grand Prix series that finished in 2016. So that would be Zhu Wenzin. Well, they actually met in this tournament in Tehran in one of earlier rounds, not in the final. And Tan eliminated Zhu in regulation. That was, aside of the first round when she played, Tan played, and an American player, Sabina Feuchter. Aside of that, every other match that Tan was involved with, went into tie breaks. So therefore, the 34 games, the total tally. Oh, she's 26. Possible. Yeah, I don't know. I just never checked. So once this match takes place, and it probably, I don't know if it's even gonna take place this year. It probably should take place this year. Well, when I'm asked, what I think about this system of World Championship, of that system of World Championship, I understand there are pros and cons, but no, as long as it's interesting to watch, I'm fine with that. And the more often they're held, the better, in my opinion. So I don't know. Ideally, I think World Championship should be held every year, and the world champion probably should not have any special privilege. Not a whole lot of that. No. Aside from maybe seeded, in the next year's championship. Some kind of a super tournament would probably be the best, at least for men. I don't know about women, maybe for women it's okay to play the knockout. I really don't know. But the games were very exciting. And generally, 91. Well, okay, she's younger than Magnus Carlsen. Okay, good. So now we have two world champions, they both at the peak of their powers in the, late 20s. And I'll probably bet my money on Magnus to stay on the top a little longer maybe than Tanzania, but who knows. Alright, so we talked already a couple of weeks ago about the earlier rounds of this tournament, and I showed you a lot of games, including some games of Tan. So today I want to concentrate on the final match, because when these two players came to the final match, the roads to it were completely different. Tan's opponent, Anna Muzychuk, who's the older sister of Maria Muzychuk, who won the same knockout tournament 2 years ago, became a world champion, and then, lost her title in a match against Hu Yufan. Anna is maybe a couple years older than Maria, but she's a very well established player. She's been one of the best players in the world for many years. She actually was a better player than her sister, higher rated and with more tournament success until that moment, let's say a couple of years ago. I guess Anna became a little upset, then in the how the things turned out, inside their household. So she doubled her efforts to upstage her sister again, and she accomplished a lot in 2016. Well, Anna Muzachuk, may I remind you, won both women's rapid and blitz championships that were held, together with men's championship in Doha, Qatar, and it was just in December. So she played extremely well there, so she looked like the class of the field. And when they came to Tehran, Anna picked up where she left off. So she was never involved in any tie breaks, all the way through to the final match. She surrendered, I think, altogether maybe 3 draws to her opponents. And the way there, she defeated a lot of strong players, including Antoinette Stefanova and Alexander Kostyanyuk. Well, the rating difference between these two ladies was about 60 points in favor of Anna Muzachuk. Yeah, by the way, Maria was one of the players who decided not to come to Iran for this tournament. I really don't know. Well, I mean, they can be that different. I mean, the sisters, right? Similar background, upbringing, and all that. And why would one of them think, oh, it's no big deal, I'll play in Tehran, and the other one would say, no, the hijab country, I don't go there. Well, I kind of don't buy into this. I think Maria I think Anna was hungry at that moment, so she felt she was on the roll, and she would go play anywhere in Antarctica or North Korea or, I don't know, maybe even in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Although, I don't know, that would be a stretch. But anyway, well, Maria would probably, I don't know, just didn't feel really up to it. And in some ways, this... maybe it's an excuse, you don't feel like playing, you don't feel like, in your best shape, and then you say, oh, well, that's the hijab, so I'm not coming. All right. I heard some rumors, I don't know, about Maria. When she won that world championship, she was given an apartment of her own in Lviv by some local administration. And, well, nice gesture, well, real estate obviously is costly these days, and it seemed like, that's very nice. Yet, well, due to some bureaucratic mistake or whatever it was, apparently that it wasn't really, paperwork wasn't really finalized, and there was another person, claiming ownership on that place, and anyway, and thing got tied up in courts and all that. So that's one ugly story, of course, and certainly not helpful for the young player Maria Muzachuk, well, in terms of, keeping her peace of mind and focusing on chess. Yeah. No, well, anyway. Let's look at some games. So, alright. So there they meet, Anna Muzachuk and Tanzania. The final match was set for 4 games with regular time control, and should it end in a 2-2 tie, then there's gonna be a tie break of the usual sets of 2 games with diminishing time controls until there's only one person left standing. Also, when the semifinals were concluded and Tan again, went through by beating Harika, in a difficult match, so faced elimination there, and only won the Armageddon game. I mean, she actually drew it, but in the game where she was lost and all that, I understand. So the players were given the free day, rest day. So what happened then? Well, Tan probably welcomed that rest day, because no matter, like the momentum and being on the roll and whatnot, being in the zone, well, I mean, simply you have to replenish your strength, recharge your batteries. So, I don't know, I have no idea, maybe she slept all day. But for Anna, I don't think it was beneficial, because her tournament was much smoother, much easier, and she had a lot of rest days. And from my experience, I know that when you play, right, and then you play for a long time, maybe longer than you normally do, and then there is a day off, and it feels like the end of the tournament. And then the next day you have to come back and play chess, and you almost like have to start from the beginning. So I think she simply went cold for these 2 days, because, well, she had a day off when Harika played Tan in the tie breaks semifinals, and then that, scheduled a rest day the next day. So that's 2 days, 48 hours. Do what? What would you do? A question. What would you do if you had 48 hours to prepare for the final match? Alright, the obvious answer is, alright, so I got my databases and, my chess engines, I would check all the theory there is, and I'll be prepared to the max for the match. Okay, so that's one position. Position number 2, well, I would just completely forget about chess, I would go out, like, I don't know, see some sights, and then whatever, go to museums, I don't know, go to a disco, go to a basketball game. Well, the truth probably is somewhere between these two, right? But it's never really objective, it's rather subjective. Well, this is where the coaches, that's where role becomes essentially important. And now, let me tell you what I did, I actually didn't do much, but a story. Alright, back in 1999, my good friend, Alexander Kalifman, we go way back from our days in Leningrad, before it became St. Petersburg. We were friends, and, we studied chess together and hang out together and all that. So, come 1999, and we meet in Las Vegas at the Knockout World Championship. So, fairly quickly I get eliminated. I lost in second round to Rublevsky, the Russian Grandmaster. So I get in the car, I had a nice companion, for that car trip, together with the late Tony Miles, and we hit the road going up to Reno, Nevada. We hit the desert highways to play in the US Open, which was to start in a few days. Alright, so I'm there playing the tournament while El Khalif keeps on fighting and doing surprisingly well. So one by one he eliminates strong players Boris Gelfand, Judith Polgar, and then he has a tough semi-final match against a young Romanian star, Liviu Dieter Nisipianu, and that thing, went down the wire. And finally, this is it. He is in the final. And he's facing actually a beatable opponent, Vladimir Akopyan, who had a Cinderella story of his own. Alright, now let's look at some similarities over there. Okay. And I get a phone call from a friend of mine who lived in Las Vegas at that time. Maybe not a strong player, but the player who attended more US championships than I played, and I played quite a lot of those. And he was there helping El Khalif, little things. So he's asking me, like what to do, he seems very nervous and all that. It seems like really at the end of his energy and all that. And of course it was Las Vegas and it was August. So I give a good advice to that friend of mine, Dr. Dan. So I tell him, well, why don't you take Al Khalif, for a ride out of town? Go to Mount Charleston. For those of you not much familiar with Las Vegas, you probably think that everywhere is like this desert and 120 degrees. No, most places are like that. But if you drive in particular direction for about 45 minutes, not longer than that, then the road starts going up and you find yourself at about 7,000 feet elevation, and there's a little park over there that's called Mount Charleston. And and that's it. That's what they did. No, that break, from scenery, the break from the weather, just break from the routine, well, did wonders, So Al Khalif came back and he played a strong final match, and ultimately he defeated Vladimir Akopian and became a world champion. There is another story similar to that coming from 1978 when a Karpov-Korchnoi match was played in Baguio City. Last game of Nakamura last night, where did Nakamura play? It wasn't on ICC, right? I think it was played online, No, well, there are some... I have some reservations from showing games here that are played on different chess server. That's how it is. So sorry, I cannot fulfill that request. So coming back to this Karpov-Korchnoi, so anyway, that Karpov was leading comfortably 5-2. They played till 6 wins. And then Karpov ran out of steam, right? So he was dragging his feet in sort of the same way he would do against Kasparov 8 years later, 6 years later. Yeah, anyway, and the Korchnoi sensed the weakness and seized the moment as only Victor could do, and he won 3 games very quickly out in a span of 4 games, and the score became 5-5. Yeah, then... No, Karpov took his last timeout or whatever. I don't remember how that... They used to have those timeouts. Anyway, and what they did, they did probably the only thing, they could, to help Karpov restore, his mental state and get back to playing condition. So Karpov and with some of his coaches, helpers, whatever, some Soviet guys, they got in the car and they drove like for 5 hours from Baguio City down to Manila to watch a basketball game from then ongoing World Basketball Championship, and then 5 hours back. No, it sounds ridiculous, right? The guy's tired, can drags his feet, but no, well, they accomplished exactly what I'm talking about, this breaking scenery, breaking routine. And, well, it helped Karpov to come to critical game 32 in better shape, and then Korchnoi sort of misunderstood the situation, pushed a little too hard with black, played the wrong opening, the Pierce, and there you go. Karpov wins the game, retains the World Championship title. No, most recent important chess events. No, well, there's still not that much time that passed between, not even 10 days. So let me go to the games. So anyway, there's a long introduction here, but I want to make sure you guys gather around. In the past, what I did, I would start showing moves, and then people start coming, and they say, what is this? What's this game? Who's playing? Why? And all that. So here, I guess I'm going to build up this until more of you over there, and then, I don't know, I was trying to figure out how many of you are watching, but I guess I cannot figure it out. Anyway, it doesn't matter. what happens in Vegas stays, unless it goes to Mount Charleston, which is no. I'm not even sure it's Clark County. Maybe you go out of county, but maybe not. Okay, never mind. Forget Las Vegas, indeed. So anyway, so instead, Anna Muzachuk's coaches, I saw one of them was, I don't know, was probably a Twitter or something, said, well, we prepared, we're going to hit her hard. Some kind of a rah-rah talk, I think that was totally out of place. Anyway, some Ukrainian grandmaster. All right, yet, when they played first game, which was actually played on February 27th, I cannot even show you this game. There was nothing. Anna absolutely got nothing out of the opening with the white pieces. And around move 30, she was low on time and just trying to hang on and repeat the moves. Tan could not avoid it. She actually tried, but then, anyway, she had to agree to repetition. So first game in the match was a draw. And now off to game 2. The next day, February 28th, Tan gets the white pieces. Let's watch this game. D4. Queen D3. A rare move, obviously. And in some ways, it's similar to Queen B3. Particularly if black takes on C4 right away, then it's the same position. It's played on and off, and mainly with the idea of just avoiding theory, because there is so much of it in the Miran variation and all sort of Botvinnik Moscow, anti-Moscow, you name it. So it's Queen D3. Now, with Tan, it's interesting. She's a D4 player, but yet, her preference clearly is always to attack the king. It's not entirely unusual. No, I can name a few D4 players that were like this. And I wouldn't necessarily say Garry Kasparov. First of all, Garry could always play E4 as well. So he was like ambidextrous, as El Khalif and some others, and Ivanchuk, of course. Anand, I admire these people. Now there is more and more like them. But back then, it was considered very difficult because you always had to play main line everywhere. Now, if you're Magnus Carlsen and you're going to play some random stuff, or you're Magnus kind of clone and you want to imitate Magnus, then maybe it's easier to play both E4 and D4. But the players who played D4 and yet aimed for an attack, how about Jael Latier, for example? I don't recall him playing E4 many times, but his style was always going against the king. But Queen D3. Okay, black plays this. I guess that's what black does. So let me actually find my analysis here. Yeah. And then quickly followed with A6. Now, this is the first moment when I took a double take and I thought, why is she playing this inferior line? I mean, the little light I knew about this position is that black plays actually bishop b7, white goes e4. So that's the idea. You spend some time on the queen moves back and forth. At least you get to put your e-pawn forward. And now white wants to go e5. Well, you could easily go wrong here, like e5 there, queen e4, castles, mistake, bishop d3, g6. Well, I don't know, here, h4. White already has pretty good attacking chances. Bishop h6 coming up as well. But this is no secret, From all these Miran positions, it's known already for many years. Oh, 75, 77. Oh, I'll get some people. That's good. Thank you. Too bad we never saw Fischer Karpov 1975. Yeah, one of those things, that unfortunately never coming back. I mean, a lot of people have regrets and they say, oh, well, Rubinstein, he could have played Lasker in, 1913. Yeah, well, would have been Kyrgios never got to play a World Championship match. True. But I mean, Fischer and Karpov, well, they were... I don't know if Karpov was really at the height of his powers yet, I think Karpov kept elevating his game for about 10 years, after that. And only after his fourth or whatever, fifth match with Kasparov, he kind of started looking burned out a little bit. But anyway, but still, it would be a great event, of course. And what wouldn't we give, to turn back the clock and watch that match in 1975? But anyway, to the modern times. So anyway, when I talk about this at Bishop B7, I stress the importance for black to counterattack in the center. And this is what they do. Now, this is absolutely the best line for black to meet this Queen B3 or Queen D3 anti-Miran systems. And that's where you go C5. Immediate attack against T4. Sharp aggressive play. Looks little risky maybe in some ways that you weaken in this diagonal. But I will show you one game here, not just to throw some platitudes, show some analysis. Now, this is Andreikin Anand. Anand, one of world's greatest experts on all things semi-Slav, just enters this line. And now black actually has to go with the king. Yeah. Andreikin played knight c5, came bishop takes c4. Bishop there. And now Anand just takes everything, right? No, clearly that Anand played like this because it was all preparation. So it was one of those lines that he studied and memorized, and Andreikin just walked into it. Now, just to show you, it wasn't that simple. You expect bishop d5, but then white gets compensation, even for 2 pawns. Well, the king is extremely uncomfortable, and it's just hard to develop. Look what Anand played. Oops, oh, I'm so sorry, let me go back. I clicked the wrong thing. Okay, we're going back. Andreikin Anand. Knight e5. Bishop. Knight e5. cd4. Check. There. Takes. King e7. Knight c5. Bishop takes pawn. Bishop b2. He grabs on g2. He plays this amazing move, bishop c6. Poor Andreikin, he probably couldn't believe his eyes. Amazingly, one way or another, black gets this piece back. If you take first with the knight, then with the bishop, it's gonna be rook c8. He took it this way, and then it had to be the black king taking care of the business. On both knights. Andreikin plays this. He gets to do discovered check. Also king d6. No, pardon me, king d7 now, the most accurate move. Stay away from the dark squares. This, rook takes. And on bishop takes d4, white almost restored the material balance. He's hitting g7, he's looking to attack the b4 pawn. But the last move, I believe, of Anand's analysis finally proves that black actually is safe in this position. Rook c8. Quickly trading at one of the white rooks and preparing counterplay with invasion of c2. Yeah, white got to take on g7 and so on, but he couldn't win the game. So one of those games, and that semi-Slav, the theory of semi-Slav is full of them. Well, can we blame Anna Muzychuk for not playing this? No, not knowing this line. No, it's hard because Queen d3 is really obscure. It's really obscure. But all the same, no, if you want to be, if you want to elevate yourself over others, then it's probably that's what you need to do. One of those things that you need to somehow distinguish yourself, you know. Well, in Anand's case, it's excellent opening preparation, and not only that, of course, many others. But well, instead, Anna plays this a6. Now, the reason I dislike this move is because black is entering a worse endgame. Yeah, it can be managed. We will look at some lines. So it's almost like, so her coach helper, Grandmaster, the name escapes me, Brodsky, he said, oh, we're gonna hit her hard, you know, we're gonna keep pressing, we. No, it's like, it reminds me of Rustam Kamsky. We playing Kasparov tomorrow, we're gonna give him hell. Yeah, okay. I go to any sports bar anywhere, or to any water cooler. Oh, did you see how we creamed them Cowboys last night? Were you there? You were in front of your TV, you know, with your bowl of nachos and a brewski. Anyway, whatever it is, you know, that's the choice of the way Anna played game one, quite passively with white, and the choice of opening line here, well, indicates anything but, well, the desire to hit the opponent hard. If anything, you know, I think Anna counted on Tan's inexperience in handling endgame positions, and maybe she thought if the Ushenina early in the tournament was able to win quite a few endgames against Tan and almost won the match. So it's like, get the queens off, whatever the cost. Yeah. But the line is not so good. First off, if you take on d3, give white another tempo. Now, this is a typical Queen's Gambit accepted pawn structure. White always goes e5. That's what they're gonna do, right? Bishop to e4, intercepting the diagonal. Clearly white's on top here. That's the microphone. Ay, sound. Hey, guys, sorry about that. This microphone started playing tricks on me again. I don't know how many times I tried to fix it. Sorry about this. No audio. Oh man, you know, I should be watching this. You missed what, about 3 minutes, right? So anyway, girlfriend. Okay, now to this. Yeah. Well, I'm watching this. What? Yeah. Didn't I fix it? Oh. Sorry, you know, well, you guys can hear me for sure. Yeah. Of course, but Yeah, here's what I'm thinking. Gelfand, right? Look how Gelfand plays this position. This is not entirely a new concept. He's given up that bishop. He wants the activity with the knights. The best experts on this pawn structure, coming from 1970s, Grandmasters Polo Gaevsky and Larsen, they had a bunch of games like this in the Miran variation. They always played actively with their pieces. Now, bishop g5, well, you'll play f6. So anyway, this is better, She plays that, and it's just not right. There's some differences here in the move order. One particularly annoying thing is white just needs one move to push the knight away from g4. Back to h6. Well, maybe even here, knight d7 was worth looking at. But where's the next attack gonna come on e5? Possibly bishop there and back. It looks a little artificial. Yeah. But there is a tactical point in this. So suppose white insists on h3, right? We're gonna look at this. Now suddenly capture and capture here. The exchange sacrifice. Then you get to take the bishop on f4, a pawn for the exchange. e5 can still be attacked. The white king is uncomfortably walking in the middle and with the weak dark squares. This is actually probably best position black could get out of this opening line. I don't think Anna was prepared to play like this. With all this burden of being the favorite and having scored, this, what was it, 6 matches, 10.5 out of 12. Yeah. I mean, made her play, in the first 2 games at least, rather tentative and honestly not very impressive. Look what she did, bishop b4 check. Oh, white's happy to play king e2. And this. And that trade, lovely. There comes rook c1. Already white has amassed, quite a substantial lead in development. Those positions with symmetrical pawn structures, when seemingly, they're equal drawish, but you fall behind the mover too, and this thing's gonna snowball. No, as usual, we can't rely on the pawn structure alone. The pieces, that's where the pieces are. That's the most important thing. The pieces are more important than pawns. Because people forget that. They'll say, didn't Philidor say that the pawns are the soul of the chess game? Yeah, but the pieces are the muscle. Pieces eat pawns. And now white has more of them in there. She was afraid of Tan's tactical ability. No, well, then why is this talk, I mean, normally Anna Muzichuk should not be afraid of anybody. This side of who you're fan, who's the better player than she is among all the women? And she's not weak in tactics at all. Well, she's just an excellent all-around player. Well, I think, that maybe too much thinking during this 48 hours. I don't know. Is there such thing as a Iranian professional basketball league? Maybe she would have been better off, attending a basketball game or baseball game. What do they play in Iran? I assume soccer. Oh well, I don't know. One player who participated in that event in Tehran, she told me, she's a friend of mine. She lost in the first round, came back. And I asked her, how was it? She said, quite bad. I go, why? She said, we were not really in town. We were outside of town on some hill, that hotel, and we took a taxi. We wanted to go somewhere. We were recommended a museum. And when we tried to get there, we met a roadblock. And then we waited, and then our driver was talking on the phone in Farsi, and we didn't know what was going on. And then he says, sorry, ladies, we can't get through the demonstrations there. So they turned around and went to the hotel. So I guess, I don't know, you just can't find any place to go just to take your mind off chess. Maybe that's what, my guess, of course, that's what made it more difficult for Anna. And look at Tan. She senses, the opponent's indecisiveness, and besides, she plays the best moves. Knight g5. Forget about the pawn on f2, forget about the pawn on g2. There's an attack against f7. It's a very effective move. King e7 is the only defense, and now this. It's interesting. Like with the queen zone, most of the time White wants to keep this bishop to attack on h7 and attack the black king in this pawn structure. But in the endgame, the bishop is rather not employed on d3 at all. So bishop e4 is the move that solidifies White's advantage and helps the knight to hop around and come to d6. When the knight is on d6, obviously, White controls the c file. Also conveniently defending on f2. White's advantage cannot be disputed here. f3 and g4. King d7. No, well, you're probably not happy to play this move, but what else to do against this threat? You can't move the bishop away, allowing the white rook to come to c7. So Anna fights. And here's what happens. This. Bishop e3. Bishop g3 was also interesting, but alright. Now, so white has won a pawn. I guess black is gonna base her hopes on the fact that the f pawn is a backward pawn, right? So white can no longer build this perfect structure from h2 to e5. But all the same, just to play with knight d5, check followed by rook f8, it's probably not effective. So she finds a better way. She goes knight g6 with the idea of attacking the knight and winning the pawn on e5. And here almost it almost happened, right? No, actually it did happen. Only Anna was not in a condition to take advantage of that. Yes, Tan made a mistake in the endgame. I think at times, she gets maybe too excited. And here she played h4. The move is very typical for her style. Aggressive, always going forward. But if you look a little deeper, then you find a fault in this concept. Botvinnik in 1961. Actually, Botvinnik, I don't think Botvinnik backed down at all. I think Botvinnik was just simply better prepared to face this kind of style. Although I still cannot believe that Tal lost at the return match. I mean, that was Tal's, lack of preparation, a lack of conditioning. I mean, it's one thing, right? Well, to win all these matches the way Tal did, the momentum carried them all the way, and some things that were probably always present, the lifestyle, the physical condition, rather lack of it. Well, they were somehow masked by this. But once Tal reached his pinnacle, I don't know, well, he just fell off the cliff, mainly physically. I mean, I'm still shocked, then. I mean, Tal became the youngest former world champion in the world. He made jokes, he said, this is what I always wanted. This is the title I wanted, the former world champion. And he became one I think at the age of 25. I mean, Magnus is older than 25. Anyway, returning to the game, h4. Now, that was not the right move. I guess, you know, that routine king e4 was the right approach. So on this, knight comes back. Now, e5 is protected, so if black gives this check, you know, then white steps back, and you cannot take the pawn. The rook requires protection. Maybe Tan abandoned this line because she didn't like, I don't know, rook b4. Twin threats, right? This and that. Yeah, but white has stronger threats. Check. The rook there. No longer possible to take because of rook takes pawn winning the knight. I mean, a6 is under attack. You can't possibly contemplate knight f8 as terribly passive. White can just go b3. White's winning. This was not played, she went h4. Now there was a line. Let's run it down. This, check, there. And now, extremely important in between move. No, white is not happy with the rook endgame, right? You win a pawn, but what about the counterplay? The key thing is that the black king walked on the 7th, protecting g7. So that did it. So the damage is very minimal to black's position. And the damage to the white king side, queen side, pardon me, well, it's going to be much more serious. Alright, understandable. This is not the best. So the knight has to go to d6. And then comes this. White wins a pawn. Now check and that. Well, now the knight on d6 lost support, so white doesn't have time to take. You go back... whatever, knight e4. I don't know. Well, white is not much better here. I mean, that's 4 pawns each. Black will hold. So, suppose this happened, right? We talk about all these things, you know, like trying to explain why one player beats another. And I'm no exception. I spend almost all hour building this case, you know, why Tan Zhangyi, you know, is the world champion now, and Anna Muzychuk is, no, not. And then I go this, analyze this game. I talk about the approach that I didn't like, not concrete enough in the opening, just trying to get Tan into the end game, and at the cost of worsening her position and, well, taking her own game out. And then all this, you know, like, but so, suppose, you know, Anna finds this and then she makes a draw from this position, which is probably the most likely result. And then, whatever, you know, she wins the match, and then what was I talking about? So sometimes it's just in one move. But on the other hand, you know, like, no mistakes that happen by accident. There is always the reason why one thing or another happened. And truth to tell, it takes more than one mistake, usually to lose one game and let alone a whole tournament, a whole event. So I'm still sticking to what I said, you know. I don't like Anna's preparation for this final match. Rook f8 she plays. Now, I mean, one chance she was given and she misses it. Walks exactly into the line prepared by her opponent. Now the rook endgame is different. Oh, of course, white is gonna do check and rook d6. That's gonna hit e6 and a6. Oh, the black rook is totally out of play on f7. There is not a trace of counterplay on f5. And white is firmly on her way to victory. So she played it differently. But that's the kind of position we already looked at, right? There is not enough counterplay because the e5 pawn is there. Now the threat is knight c5, to pick off pawns. Oh boy, that's passive. Now 10, after doing this little slip up, with the move h4, pulls herself together and handles the final stage of this game with precision. Knight c3. Yeah, most of the time you don't want to trade knights, right? Extra pawn and rooks and knights on the board. Rook endgames are notorious for drawing chances. But here white has all the aces. Well, the rook is on the c file, that's a big advantage. Not only extra pawn, but great space advantage on the king side. And no counterplay possibilities for the black rook. So Anna tried that, but Tan Zhangyi confidently goes for this position, and she handles this like she's done it before. Yeah, those rook endgames. You don't worry about one passed pawn. As long as you can put your rook behind it, well, it's totally fine. Well, your king stays where your pawn advantage is, where your pawn majority is. That's the right way of handling this. And there she goes. No, it doesn't really matter, she even came back. It hasn't changed anything. No, that's the setup, and then she begins the final assault. I will show you the final position because it was a little funny. Now, this is a cute idea to sacrifice another pawn and kind of messed up white's pawn structure. But truth to tell, it's too little too late. Now, this is a nice move. Well, I guess you cannot succeed by playing king h7 because the e-pawn will simply queen. So she gives this check, and then rook a1. Look out! Look out, guys! Did white just misplay it? Did white walk into the stalemate trap? Well, white can go back, play the rook to e7, and then after the check, just move the king out and open that h7 square for the black king, and probably still winning. But Tan Zhangyi finds a better move, rook f7, which is nice. On this, she's gonna play rook f6, and if black takes, she's gonna unstalemate the opponent with this nice timely move. King takes f6. Well, otherwise, if you go to the back rank, then white should play rook f8 and just win an opponent game. That was an impressive victory for Tan Zhangyi, and it kind of set the tone, I thought. After this game, I, and many others, commentators, thought, that's it, well, Tan is the favorite now to win. But the match had more twists in the plot. We're gonna look at game 3. The very next day. Anna comes back. It's almost a must-win situation because it's the last time we get the white pieces. No, all the women's chess, it's probably not as strict and, well, I mean, it's not like it's Carlsen, Karyakin. Well, you can win with black. And a lot of players did it in that championship. On demand, yeah, facing elimination. But nonetheless, clearly the white pieces, emphasis had to be given to this. And she plays e4. It's nice. I don't really know what Tan knows about the French. I read somewhere that she played the French the second time in her life. No, Some people would say it's irresponsible to do this at this highest stage when you're only 2 steps away from world championship title. But I can only say one thing, you have to trust your instincts, It carried you through already 30 games in this event, and you just have to go with the flow. Yeah, bullet game, any trick might work, particularly that one. So she plays the French. Maybe not the best choice, because this opening requires precise handling, of course. And particularly this line, that is modern line. Well, years ago it was only Morozevich who played it, and maybe occasional games of Ivanchuk. Everyone else would rather take on d4, try to eliminate some pieces there and defend the worst position. But now black just shrugs it off and castles short. Okay, but Muzichuk well prepared. She plays, I think, the best line. Castles. Queen a5, a3. Yeah, the sacrifices don't work. I mean, white can regroup and defend against the threats. The problem is that the black rooks are not coming to help. The bishop on c8 is stuck. So the main move in this position happens to be a6. And this is a theoretical position. Whatever, we'll skip that. So she plays bishop e7. I think Tan Zhangyi was on her own. Maybe, well, I won't underestimate her ability to play any kind of position just fresh off, but maybe this one is a little too dangerous. Then comes bishop d3. When you see the bishop on d3 and the knight absent from f6, what you think is... Oh, you're referring to bishop takes c5 here instead of knight takes c5. Yeah, knight takes c5 was commonly played too. But no, well, you don't get to win the white bishop, the white square bishop. So white just goes bishop e2, I think. And then the castle short. This is how it goes. Now, anyway, theory of the French and then... Yes. But now, what do you think when you see bishop d3 with the... You look at bishop takes h7. Now, okay, granted, here, the bishop controls g5 and the white queen is off the light square. Not coming to h5 as usual. But nonetheless, there is something to be concerned with, right? I mean, a probably more experienced player in the French would react. She goes a6, which is okay. Now Anna plays this move, which to me clearly indicates. And Tan just ignores it. Well, some commentators I saw, they were very harsh on Tan Zhangyi for this. They said, oh, this move shows lack of chess culture, not knowing the typical sacrifice. I don't know, I'm surprised at all this talk, Well, I mean, at the end of such grueling event, things may... Or maybe she thought, oh, that the queen is not on e2, so that's nothing. But indeed, there were much better moves. Rook d8, maybe, to prepare to run away with the king. It's one of possibilities. So rook d8 does it, right? If you do this and knight g5, okay, then you play this, knight f8. Pretty simple defense. Yeah, that would be a whole game ahead, but she played this and now there it came, queen d3. Hey, microphone. Yeah, Microphone. I have to watch that microphone. I don't know if I'm attracted to. I'm not good with the French. I played this opening time and again. I didn't have much of success. When I played it, I usually played the win hour anyway. I don't think I ever had a game with knight f6. I don't really know what to say about this. Yeah, the sound came back. I don't know. There's some kind of a conflict, some other program. These days you have so much garbage on your computer. I don't know. I spend some time practically every day eliminating some unwanted software. But every time you know how it is. Every time you're on the internet, they just get something that I don't know. Man. Hello? Yeah, it works. So anyway, something got into my computer and it just affects the microphone. For the only thing that helps us is to reset it, which basically unplug and plug it back in. That's what I learned from experience. But maddening. What can I say? Anyway, so this line, looked totally lost to me. I looked at what? I mean, it's automatic. A child can win this. You just do this, hit g6, force to take, double up your rooks and wait h7. You win. There is no two ways about it. Look at all these pieces. And the queen on a5. What Tan did, was not much better. She played f5. This position looks totally lost. I mean, almost anything white does, knight takes e6. Once this pawn chain is destroyed, then black's pieces that... I mean, the black pieces there, knight on d7, bishop on c8. In a closed position, well, we know that they can relocate somewhere. Knight may come to c4, maybe. Yeah. But once it blows open like this, then you see that they're just not prepared. It's impossible. Knight takes e6 would win. She played knight takes d5. And now I gotta give credit to Tanjani. She plays a little challenging move here. She plays b4. It's not really a big challenge. Obviously, white's way on top and has a choice of many winning moves. But this shows good fighting spirit. Well, I cannot criticize any of Muzyczuk's moves. She actually played this quite well. Maybe there were quicker ways of winning, but, well, you're not there to win it quickest. You're there to win it the surest way. And that certainly looks like it, right? Huge material advantage. We're talking 4 pawns, rook and 4 pawns for two minor pieces. What alarmed me, however, was the time management. Anna was taking time on every move, even in this totally winning position. To me, it signaled certain confidence crisis. Be it a blitz game, well, who knows how it would turn out, but it worked okay. I don't know, I'm showing these moves. Yeah, fine. Once it got to the end game, she had more confidence. Finished the game either with promotion or mate or win of the bishop. Nice win. And then the internet was a buzz, right? Muzyczuk is back, the order is restored, and now, of course, she's again the favorite to win. Okay. Now, let's go back to Men's World Championship match in New York last year. Do you remember that last game draw? That Magnus had the white pieces in the last game, game 12. And he chose to have a non-game and just played some kind of anti-Berlin thing, trading everything, to prepare himself for the tie breaks. And when the tie breaks came, they played 4 games of the Rapid. Magnus clearly was the best player in that series, so he was able to He almost won game 2 and then won game 3 with block, and very nicely, and game 4 as well. Maybe 10 did sort of the same, she didn't really show a whole lot of ambition in the 4th game. And once again, I thought, why is Muzichuk happy with a draw in this game 4? Yeah, she's black, but she has the momentum now. She just equalized the score, right? I mean, it's not like, you have to take such tremendous risks in order to play more complex with black against Tanzania. She's not exactly Sergei Karyakin in her preparation, right? Or whatever. I think here Anna, once again, it's something that I wishes she could take back. I think she had to push, and as this guy said, her coach or spokesman or whoever he was, we're gonna push hard. Okay, well then, she did in game 3. No, well, understandable, she was near facing elimination. But as soon as the score became tied, once again, she didn't look like she wanted to be there. Well, I noticed, sometimes when you expected to win and you expect yourself to, and it's almost, it's a formality, well, that's when it becomes almost impossible to motivate yourself. And then again, you somehow this talk about your being a favorite it doesn't do much to alleviate the fears and anxiety and all that. Best players who can handle this. Garry Kasparov didn't have any problem with that. Magnus Carlsen, yes and no. I don't think that Magnus is... he won the World Championship title and defended it twice already, so it's not too shabby. But a lot of people expected more convincing wins from Magnus. Switch to Linux. I kind of know what it is, but it would take re-educating. Send me to a re-education camp where I will learn, this different operating system in computers. It's almost, I don't know, talking about teaching new tricks to an old dog. Guys, I don't want to complain, obviously. I have a great life, sitting there talking to you, and thanks to the Internet Chess Club for giving me this platform. But it's actually sometimes quite long hours while I don't know, I take computers and all things computer related as sort of necessary evil, because that's the medium I have to use to get through to you guys. But I don't really like computers, and I have zero intellectual curiosity when it comes to different computer things. Sorry about that. I guess that's how it's gonna be. So, the tie break we go. The first game of the tie break. Now, they play 2 games. In game 25. Now, 10 plays the Petrov. And the popular already for many years line with d takes c3, where white basically ignores the main idea, which is to occupy the center with your pawns, d4, c4. Plays for quick development and to castle long, of course, where the pawn mass of 4 pawns will shield the king nicely. Looking for practical chances on the king side and elsewhere. Now, this approach, I remember some 10 years ago, whatever, 15 years ago, it seemed like, it's hard to believe. And there were some wins. Not just some wins. Kramnik would lose game after game. He got beat by Svidler twice, by Karyakin at least once, maybe twice. So then I thought, and some others must have thought too, if Kramnik is not comfortable here with black, then there were some losses by Boris Gelfand. Alright, sometimes it's not even in the position, it's just the tide turns and that opening just becomes unpopular because people don't want to enter a certain kind of position. Even if computers show that you can handle this, you can play this and that, well, they kind of sense that the tide has turned, and now the wind is blowing into white sails. Okay, touch the microphone. It was a big mistake. Although I don't know if it's a mistake or not. Sometimes I think if I just throw this godforsaken thing against the wall, maybe it will either break it for good or fix it for good. But anyway, not now. I got job to do. So anyway, Queen A8. Now this was one of the ideas that Boris Gelfand tried. Looks totally artificial to me, but no. Now they play for the smooth knight e5. Okay, you have a classic 4 against 3 on the king side and the center, right? And white's kind of dead pawn majority on the queen side. Has to be bad for white, right? But of course, there's the Berlin. But, then you say, first off, in the Berlin, it's black who accepts this because, no, well, black's not supposed to get a better game. Secondly, there are the bishop pair to compensate for the inferior pawn structure. What does white have here? I tell you what white has here. Plain old development. Now, development can make up for a lot of things. If you don't believe me, you don't have to believe me. Why don't you go back and look at some games of Paul Morphy? You will see what a development can do. c4. Now this. Previously known was a game between two sisters, right? Anna was white, she played queen c3. And Maria played bishop f6. That's a strong one. That really is a strong one, threatening e4. And then somehow white didn't want to abandon, of course, the pawn on c4. Could find no better than play queen b3, and then indeed it became equal and the game was drawn. All the same, this is a bad move, right? There is e4, bishop takes and takes. And now on the queen and on the, okay, assume mate in a couple of moves. And Anna plays this move. You know, when I look at this, I understood why f3 was played, but I couldn't appreciate the strength of white's position. I was not ready to wrap my mind around it. It seemed like, white has lost the lead in development, but in fact the lead in development was used for good things. And now white is about to reposition her pieces. That's very nice. And then the bishop to c3. f6, queen e4. Well, white's position now is more purposeful, because now you have the battery over there, and black could not do the same, because that extra pawn that white has on the queen side is actually shielding the king very nicely. So g6 was played. Another moment that could have changed history. Oh, well. Anna, who seemingly, so she won game 3, didn't have any problems in game 4, last game of slow time control with black. And now emerging with an advantage on the clock as well, in this position. Looks to cash in, and once again, I think that was the coaches who told her, trade queens, that girl doesn't know how to play the end game. Look at Ushenin had this, yeah. So she goes queen takes b7. It's just disappointing, that everything's there, right, for white. Attack! Or you would say that it's going to be bishop f5. No, well, exactly how? If black plays c6, I can invest time in g4. Next comes h5. How to force this queen away? I don't see how. Everything looks slow. h5 is a very strong threat. Instead, she takes. Okay, white's better. Don't get me wrong. Some transformation there, some pawns got traded, but black will trade the rook on d7, but the remaining rook white's rook is going to be much more active. And split pawns and, all small advantages, but... And she plays well. Until now. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I want to be dogmatic, right? As many of my grandmaster colleagues, were prone to is, and you ask, who's better here? And they go like, unclear. And annotations, unclear. And then people like, why are you a grandmaster if things are not clear to you? What's wrong with you? And then grandmasters roll their eyes and say, well, the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know, and crap like this. Yeah, maybe there is time for that, but sometimes there is, I believe, there is time to be dogmatic in the best tradition of Dr. Zigbert Taras. Or a Russian schoolboy, right? Or the whatever. Or the patriarch. Every Russian schoolboy knows from the games of great Akiba Rubinstein that you play your rook to a6 and there and then you play this and then you move the rook out and then you put the pawn on a6 and then whatever. Indeed, rook a6 was pretty strong. She plays rook b5. White still has an advantage. Black cannot accept the rook trade. What must Tan do to take her talent to a high competitive level? I don't know. I think her strength is just in being a natural player and a tough competitor. All she needs to do just to play chess. Look, they have it good in China. Everything is set up there. Chess players are good ones, are well taken care of. I mean, I played that tournament, an excellent training facility. It's their training facility on a tropical island. Well, over there I was in December. It was 20 degrees Celsius every day. And, well, everything is there, like I know that hotel over there is very comfortable. Food is excellent, and the restaurant, and everything there, like whatever. Sports, recreation, and well, the Chinese Chess Association pays the stipend to their best players, and I'm sure the amount is going to be increased now for Tanzania. Well, yeah, you have to pay quite a percentage of your winnings, but probably not going to get mega rich from this whole thing, but they pay your expenses and all that. And she's only 26, right? No, she should just play. I don't think she should worry herself with this. Am I going to be as good as Judith Polgar Am I going to be able to compete against men? No, I saw Tan playing in that open tournament. She didn't seem particularly phased, when she played top boards there, all against men. I don't think she. But I don't know. All the same, I don't want to. I don't want to give her too much advance in the sense like, okay, she's gonna be at 2700 next year. She probably won't. But I mean, who cares? Some people. To me, okay, improvement is one thing, but the ability to win a tournament when it counts, it's also something to be admired. Maybe they said, oh, Khalifman was not such a great player, and yet he became a world champion. How is this bad? Explain to me. When some team, I don't know, the New York Mets, and whatever, I forgot, the 1960 something, I don't know. Well, the Kansas City Royals, whatever, some upsets, and the team that is not a favorite suddenly wins this whole thing, right? Wins it all, and they say, they're not good, but they pull it together, and they won. And everybody admires that. Why do we somehow degrade a player's success if by some kind of higher standard they're not good enough or they're not as good? Who says so? Gary Kasparov? I mean, I don't know. To me, if I were to win anything and people would say, Yerma is not really that good, I would say, yeah, right, I'm not good, but I did it. What's the... and all these good guys, where are they? Back there in a cloud of dust. So I don't think that Tan should put any pressure on her. She needs to prepare for the match with Xu Wenjing, who may be a more complete player than her, but there is time to prepare, time to get better. And, well, we'll see. Now, I admire the way she resisted in this difficult endgame. Look at the activity she found. This check is great. Look at that move. She refuses to stay passive. She opens up the position and creates problems for the opponent. Now, this is a great move. That's the only move to prevent the white king from decisive step forward, king d5. Why? Look at that check. You can't go up, rook c5. And she was in time trouble. She was much lower on time. Another critical move was played here. So, Muzychuk's play was little tentative. She probably should have never returned with the bishop from over there. She probably should have gone a5, trying to win the a-pawn. The a-pawn is more important, because it's a dangerous pawn to stop. Difficult pawn to stop, I meant. Hey, I know it always turns itself off when I'm engrossed, in this chess variations. I take my eyes off that thing, that running bars over there. Anyway, so this is what you saw, right? I mean, there is no way, you take on h2. You throw away a chance, no, not to win a world championship. Well, you would still have to play another game, but that's a huge chance. And against the opponent that's been on the back foot for 50 moves, you can't let up and take on h2. This is not championship chess. Oh well. Yeah. After all this, almost the last game almost seemed like a anticlimactic thing, Well, I don't know. I'll show it to you, of course, because it's the championship game. The second game of the rapid stage. Quickly. So once again, a sideline against a Slav. This was played by Mamediyarov with white. Now, since black decided not to win the pawn on c4 and try to hang on to this, then white just happy to get the bishop pair. Some wiser man put the bishop back on f1 and then on g2. I'm thinking here. There was a game, right? Mamediyarov game against Tomaszewski. Tomaszewski played h5. It's quite logical. Well, black has some lead in development. It's gonna take a long time for white, to get that bishop out of c1. Yeah, thanks, but I hope it comes back. Buy a USB microphone. Do you know how much money this microphone costs? That's the top of the line thing. It's not about, you think I economize on this? Sorry, it's not. I try to use different microphones and the same thing, the same software problem. I should probably buy a new computer. I can't seem to fix it. Well, something something conflicts and it just hijacks my microphone for absolutely no reason at all. I could understand if I had some sound quality issues because of poor equipment, but this thing, well, I don't know. Makes me upset. Sorry about this, guys. So anyway, even here there's plan with h5, but she plays tentatively, and now the worst thing yet. In the first game, Anna had a lead on the clock. She was always in control. In the second game, she played very slowly. Her position wasn't so bad. Then. Alright, now, if you think that knight a4 is unusual, I thought so, but somebody told me that similar idea has been played before. White is willing to open the b file for the pressure, but it's hard to break through e4 or d5. Anyway, she plays well. Although, I don't know. Okay, maybe. It's like in this position, well, don't you want to just take that knight off the board and attack with h5? The knights are dominating, everything's mobilized. You gotta come up with some kind of aggressive plan. She drifts and allows white to get the pawn minority attack. Tan's play here is not perfect, but at least she follows some kind of plan. And Anna is on the path to self-destruct. But there is one moment, when Muzychuk proved once again that she's a very strong player. I will show it to you. Alright, all this. Fine. White slowly beginning to build up some advantage. The black rook is tied down to the pawn on a4. f5 is kinda unhealthy because of the bad king then. So it's hard to challenge the c file. Okay, queen b4. This was a fantastic move. The pawn sacrifice, par excellence. Look at this. Dynamic activity that fork is threatening. This is a nice move too. Attacking the a-pawn. So 10 steps away from the b5 tempo comes rook e6. And she does this. Maybe another critical moment of this. Anna played rook a6. This move feels kinda wrong because, I don't know, I don't think the a2 pawn is really worth trading it for the e4 pawn. It's probably not the right move. What I liked this. This was dynamic, right? Hitting the pawn on f2. If rook f1, then the e4 pawn is indirectly protected. Just go b5. You can't do this. Knight check on the rook. Black can even do stuff like this. It's extremely difficult for white to handle this situation. Nah, she didn't do this. She was getting lower and lower on time. And then, couple moves later, came a huge blunder. Already black's position is difficult. On king g8, d5. The white d pawn is no less dangerous than the b pawn. And it's an extra pawn that sits on a3. Still black could probably resist. This move shows that hey, what is this thing doing to me, huh? Oh well. Anyway. Yeah, but she was at the... I'm at the end of my wits, you know. She was also. Okay, at least, you know, what do I have at stake? She had a lot, but king h6. You know, maybe there is some sense in that opinion that you're better off, you know, getting into some tie breaks early in a tournament. Well, because you just can't win at all, you know, if you're not prepared to play these rapid games. Well, they say how can we consider it Anna, because she's a world rapid and blitz champion, but it's a different event, you know. She never played a single tiebreak game, and this is where her skills abandoned her. King h6 just walks into mate. g4, just mate. Look what she did to her king. Mate's unstoppable. It's either g5 or queen f8. She covered her face with her hands and resigned. Well, I'm happy for Tanzania, and I feel bad for Anna. But I mean, they gave us great battle. The whole event was a fantastic event. But in some ways, history repeated itself. 2004, Tripoli, Libya. Still old Libya, you know. Like, do you want to go there now? You say, well, you didn't want to go there then. I don't know if anybody would want to go there now. Anyway, leaving politics aside of this, a lot of players were missing from that tournament. But there were still some good ones. And Topalov, you know that he had 9.5 out of 10, winning every match in regulation, surrendering only one draw. On the other side was this dark horse Kasimdzhanov, who was involved in a lot of tie breaks. And then they finally played this match and they rolled draws, and they got to tie breaks, and just like in this match, the underdog won. Because the underdog, I guess, was more comfortable playing this. There are two things there. So first of all, you're a favorite, and well, you consider it already a failure that the match even went into tie breaks, which is the wrong approach, right? Magnus Carlsen didn't have it. Secondly, no, well, indeed, well, the opponent had more practice doing this. Okay, let's look at this position. King there, right? Okay, what can white do? White cannot get the rook out. So plays d5, I assume. Now if the b pawn goes, then so is the d pawn, and there is no 8 square. The bishop controls it. So I guess the right move is queen c5. Fine. What next? Probably wouldn't be a good idea to move the rook to d2 ever on account of rook a1. So white continues h4. You can't play b3, right? Again, queen b8 picks off this pawn. White's better, that's all I can say. I don't have any lines here, any particular revelations, I just think that white is better, that's all. But still, it's far cry from what happened in the game. King h6 just led to mate in a couple of moves. Yeah, mental collapse, but there were some signs indicating that, and no, that's how it is. So where do women go now? First question, where is the young talent? I look at the players, the top. New world champion, 26 years old, right? Tan Zhangyi. Zhu Wenzin, maybe she's younger by a year. Side of the championship, the answer is nothing. I'm talking about the US championship. So, well, the girls, so then our girls, they come for this one event, this knockout championship. They're not prepared to play, they get eliminated. Even when Irina Krush was a stronger player, she couldn't quite, make enough impact. And now, I don't know, there is simply not enough events for women to play in the United States. And I speak not only as a spectator, well, as a husband of a former US champion. I mean, I don't know, it's just how it is. So over there, well, they established quite a series of tournaments. I know they're not the most exciting locations, and no, a lot of them held in the former Soviet Union or India, Turkey, / Iran, places like this. But no, okay, that's what they have. Oh, but I think the tournaments are well organized. Yeah. Yeah, you do lip reading, of course, well, that should help. I don't know. I think I should promise you to fix this microphone, but I just don't know how. I've done trying. Anyway, yeah, long show today. Well, I think that the video should use a lot of editing. Edit out all these silent moments. I don't know if it's possible. Oh well, sorry about that. Anyway, so what I see in future in women's chess is basically what it is now. But young players, those 12-year-old young Judith Polgars with pigtails. I don't know, where are they? Well, they should come. They always do. So let's not lose faith. And I think, well, the events are exciting enough. At least I was happy to follow that. And I hope you like the games. Sound. Yeah. Alright, guys, so no, well, I wouldn't say it was a very good show. You were very helpful. And but I was just getting mad at the microphone. And well, I don't know. I'm mad in general. I spent the last 2 days doing my taxes. And well, I don't know. It doesn't help my spirit, to be honest. I need probably some recovery time. Just. Alright. Anyway, thanks for your attention and take care. Bye.